our good old black-green Dredge deck. Really love this deck. Of course, this is a budget version of the Jund Dredge deck.
This is probably the graveyard deck of the format.
They're teaching Dredge to our children in schools?
Dredge has been around for a while. It's been a very powerful strategy historically.
It is Dredge that gets it done.
It's been a long time since we saw this deck take down a tournament.
Did you know Dredge was the brainchild of Mark Rosewater? Designed as the keyword ability for the Golgari Guild and Ravnica City of Guilds, Dredge is currently rated at level 10 on the Storm Scale, which is Mark Rosewater's way of measuring a keyword mechanic's potential to be reprinted. Because Dredge is at the highest level, it is unlikely the mechanic will ever see an appearance in a new set. As a matter of fact, Dredge was deemed broken by Mark Rosewater on his Blogatog Tumblr page. At first glance, Dredge seemed like a fair mechanic. If the card with Dredge is in your graveyard and you would go to draw a card, you could instead draw the card with Dredge, but only after putting a required number of cards from the top of your deck into your graveyard. Mechanics before it, like buyback and flashback, have been designed with the intent to recur cards over and over. Dredge was meant to do the same and was initially assumed to be safe, but it unfortunately turned out to be the exact opposite. Dredge was dormant throughout the release of Ravnica Block, but when the third set from Time Spiral Block Future Sight debuted, the mechanic blew up. It was Bridge from Below, an enchantment that only does something when it is in its owner's graveyard that gave Dredge a reliable win condition. The set also introduced Narcomoeba, an innocuous flyer that would instantly get played when dredged into the graveyard, then sacrificed to play a much bigger threat from Dread Return. Dredge decks are commonly played in both Legacy and Vintage. Both players play the same core strategy, but the way they perform is quite different. In Legacy, the majority of Dredge cards use a card that acts like a Black Lotus, Lion's Eye Diamond. Since having cards in hand is not a concern, Lion's Eye Diamond is an efficient tool to get dredgers from the hand to the graveyard while adding 3 mana of any color, all for 0 mana. In Vintage, most Dredge decks do not play Lion's Eye Diamond because they have a better card that does the job just as effectively, Bazaar of Bagdad. For the longest time, Bazaar wasn't played in any competitive decks, but when Ravnica released, the land finally found a home. In 2011, Mark Hornung won the Vintage Championship at Gen Con playing Dredge. This was the first and only time Dredge has won the prestigious tournament.
Oh wow, we're up against, Dredge.
Because Dredge ignores most of your opponent's capabilities, the mechanic has been argued to be one of the worst to play against. Having an insanely high Game 1 win percentage in both Vintage and Legacy, Dredge completely ignores any hand disruption, permission, or mana denial. For the longest time, players would insert several cards that specifically attack the graveyard in their sideboard to battle the Dredge archetype. When Zendikar released in 2010, the elemental Vengevine was introduced and the deck Dredgevine was born. The deck was initially played in Standard, so no cards with Dredge were played, but because its primary strategy was to mill cards and return Vengevine from the graveyard to the battlefield, it reminded players of Dredge, thus the name Dredgevine caught on. Today, Dredgevine is played in Modern with actual Dredge cards, such as Stinkweed Imp and the now unbanned Golgari Grave Troll. Another card from Zendikar that was a major game changer is Bloodghast. Since Dredge would continuously mill cards into its owner's graveyard, Bloodghast became a great recurring creature with its landfall ability. One of the biggest letdowns from Ravnica, City of the Guilds, was Graveshell Scarab. At the time, its stats were above the curve, making it one of the most hyped cards from the set. But because its dredge count is only 1, the card quickly fell to obscurity. Cabal Therapy has been a premium discard spell ever since its debut in Judgment, but it works best in Dredge. Because it has flashback, and its flashback cost is sacrificing a creature, Cabal Therapy is commonly used to trigger Bridge from Below. The card is so important to the archetype's game plan that it has become a staple in both Vintage and Legacy versions. Another card commonly played in the archetype is Icarid. This recurring creature is a resilient killer as it keeps coming back for more turn after turn. Dredge has only been featured in 2 sets, Ravnica and an appearance on 1 card from Future Sight. Part of a 6-card uncommon land cycle, Dakmor Salvage is the only land card with the recursive ability. Because it was legal during the time Ravnica was in Standard, this land was played in many blue-black Dredge decks. Thought to be too powerful for Modern, Golgari Grave Troll was on the format's extensive ban list for 4 years. But in early 2015, the infamous Dredger was finally unbanned. Decks like Dredgevine started to see a return, but when Prized Amalgam was printed in Shadows over Innistrad, the Dredge strategies of old were reborn. Don't forget to subscribe to Gathering Magic for more Did You Know Magic videos, as well as deck techs, Magic Online strategy videos, and more. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like or leave a comment below. Want to watch more Did You Know Magic videos? Click here to visit our playlist. If you want to check out more of my projects, check out the Girlfriend Bracket on GatheringMagic.com or Magic Mics every Wednesday at 11 p.m. on Twitch. Thanks for watching.